Sony has done the impossible. They've finally made Morbius look pretty good. Now that Kraven the Hunter is officially DOA, let's break down how Sony reached new lows with its latest comic book flop. The previous plan for Sony's Spider-Man universe movies has been to merge all of the supporting Spider-Man characters, aka Venom, Morbius, and Madame Web, with actors who were either award-season darlings or anchored massive box office hits, aka Tom Hardy, Jared Leto, and Dakota Johnson.
And then we save the day.
But we saved the day, it's done.
So, in that sense, Kraven the Hunter was always a little bamboozling, because leading man Aaron Taylor Johnson hasn't really been proven as either a leading man or a critical darling. While he played a supporting role of Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron and has had positive turns in smaller movies since, he's got no hits under his belt beyond the original Kick-Ass. In his post-2015 acting credits, Taylor Johnson has only appeared in 2 movies that exceeded $60 million domestically, Bullet Train and The Fall Guy. In both features, he was firmly a supporting presence, overshadowed by the leading stars. And Kraven the Hunter didn't come anywhere close to those numbers. In its 3-day opening weekend, it earned a measly $11 million domestically. Overseas, it tracked down a similarly low $15 million, giving it the record for the worst box office performance out of all of the Sony Spider-Verse films. Kraven's marketing just hammered home the entire problem with generic posters and billboards solely centered on Aaron Taylor Johnson, specifically his abs. They were trying to appeal to a fan base that didn't actually exist.
You didn't see that coming?
Did you guys hear about this Wicked movie? Yeah, we bet you did. Though they didn't premiere on the same weekend, Kraven the Hunter still had to go head-to-head against one of the world's most beloved Broadway properties. A rapturously reviewed movie with long legs at the box office, Wicked has all the hallmarks of this year's holiday season mainstay. It's got the spectacle, it's got the recognizable IP, it's got audiences singing in the theaters. We don't care who you are. If you're taking your family to the movies, you're going to choose the event movie spectacle. You are not going to choose the dour, third-rate superhero movie about a guy no one outside of a comic book shop has ever heard of. Adding more damage to Kraven the Hunter was a December 2024 smash hit that even fewer people saw coming. A 10th anniversary IMAX re-release of Interstellar has become such a box office phenomenon that Paramount Pictures extended its original 1-week run into Kraven's opening weekend. And we're willing to bet that, demographically, it's eating up the exact audience Kraven was counting on. Wicked, in its 4th weekend of release, made more than double Kraven's debut, while Interstellar racked up another $3.3 million at only a few hundred theaters. Between these box office achievements, Kraven came out as the butt of the joke.
What's your humor setting, Dars?
That's 100%.
Once upon a time, Kraven was set for release in October 2023. In June 2023, the first trailer was dropped. Thanks to the 2023 labor strikes in the entertainment industry and an evolving release strategy from Sony and Columbia Pictures, Kraven the Hunter was delayed and delayed and delayed until it finally landed in mid-December 2024. That meant there was a whopping 18-month gulf between when Kraven the Hunter started promoting itself and when it finally hit theaters. During that time, audiences either got sick of hearing about Kraven or just forgot it existed. All the while, Sony's marketing campaign for this feature was tremendously muted and lacking in energy. And since the studio was also launching Venom: The Last Dance just 8 weeks earlier, Kraven the Hunter's promotional campaign also seemed to lack any sort of urgency or personality. Just look at the various Kraven posters, which lingered too heavily on an image reminiscent of a famous comics cover of Kraven sitting on a throne surrounded by skulls. It's not a bad starting visual for a marketing campaign, but Kraven's ad campaign failed to build on it or do anything else interesting. It just looked like a bland movie with actors going through the motions, never justifying its own reason to exist. And the reason why it looked that way is because that's just what it was. The MCU is sagging now, but Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe had so much audience goodwill going for it that it's almost hard to explain. From Captain America: Civil War to Black Panther to Avengers Endgame, these productions garnered strong marks from critics and audiences alike. They were movies you took the whole family to, garnering consistent scores of A and A+ from CinemaScore, and fostering a culture of people who legitimately looked forward to what was coming next. Sony's Spider-Man universe has had the opposite problem. Save for the Venom movies, none of these titles have become hits or been beloved in any sense of the word.
Who the hell are you?
It doesn't matter.
And we're still pretty sure the love for Venom is ironic. In other words, there's no fan base for this series. The people who care about what comes next aren't excited for the next movie. They're just wondering how bad things can get. Morbius only gained notoriety as a mocking internet meme, a meme so successful that it tricked Sony into re-releasing it to theaters just to bomb again. Madame Web, well, pretty amazing from a how did this get made standpoint, has approximately 0 honest fans. And the Venom movies have always been doing their own thing as the Tom Hardy Show, a show that mostly seemed to run out of steam by the time The Last Dance came around.
I'm with you to the end.
Under the best of circumstances, a movie like Kraven would have had trouble getting audiences excited. As a caboose of one of the worst film franchises in modern memory, it was all but destined to fail. If there's one silver lining to the Sony Spider-Man universe, it's that the movies didn't cost a lot to make. Morbius and Madam Web each cost $75 million each, chump change relative to the $200 or $300 million budget of many Marvel films post-2019. But even at those price tags, an $11 million opening for Kraven would have been a disaster. But wait, it gets worse. Far from being a budget production, many estimates put Kraven's cost to somewhere between $110 and $130 million. It cost how much? The budget reportedly blew up over extensive reshoots as well as a start-stop production stemming from 2023's two major strikes. As anyone who's seen it can tell you, it certainly wasn't the CGI animals that made Kraven cost more than Oppenheimer. Factoring in estimated marketing costs in order to just break even, Kraven would have needed to make somewhere between $275 and $325 million over the course of its theatrical life. To put that in perspective, in its lifetime worldwide total, Morbius made $167 million, and Madam Web made just over $100 million. So in order to make your money back with Kraven, you'd need to do better than both of those movies combined, and then scrounge around for another $58 million from somewhere, just to be safe. In 2017, 6 new superhero movies opened in theaters, and each of them grossed at least $225 million plus domestically. Save for Justice League, all were massive moneymakers for their respective finances. In the 2010s, unless it was Fantastic Four, Fan Four Stick, or Dark Phoenix, a movie rooted in DC or Marvel Comics lore, was a guaranteed hit. That has not been true for 2024. Across 2023 and 2024, flops like Madam Web, The Flash, The Marvels, The Crow, and Joker Folie à Deux have lost money for studios and proved comic book adaptations are no longer bulletproof. Deadpool and Wolverine and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse have proven certain titles in this domain can still draw a crowd, but the days of assured box office hits are gone. That cold streak obviously affected Kraven the Hunter. Perhaps in 2018, audiences would have been more open to giving the film a shot. Even a flop like Dark Phoenix opened to a little over $35 million domestically back in 2019. But hot on the heels of so many recent box office duds, Kraven the Hunter had no chance. If Marvel Studios couldn't get a Captain Marvel sequel to be a must-see event, there was no chance for Kraven the Hunter to leave a dent financially. Future comic book movies like Clayface, Thunderbolts, and Red Sonja had better beware. You can't just print money with this genre anymore. You have to give people a better reason to show up. Poorly reviewed by almost all critics, the movie was slapped with a C cinema score by audiences in a viewer exit poll. In other words, viewers won't be telling their friends to see the movie. Kraven the Hunter is one of many cautionary tales about how a brand name and audience familiarity are nowhere near enough to guarantee a moneymaker at the box office. If audiences don't respond to your project, no amount of promotional dollars or studio logos can transform it into a hit. The dismal word of mouth also likely dooms the future of Kraven on screen in general. This film's ending teases Kraven going on to become the supervillain comic book fans know and love. But if audiences rejected this movie, what justifies making a sequel? They may not have adapted the plotline, but you can bet this was Kraven's last hunt. Before Home on the Range hit theaters in April 2004, news broke that it would become the final Disney Animation Studios release done in hand-drawn animation. This news instantly overshadowed everything related to the movie itself. This was no longer just a kid-friendly animated feature, it was the end of an era. The movie itself became immaterial in the grand scheme of history. Similarly, Kraven the Hunter had its theatrical launch upended by major media news and studio politics. A few days before its domestic premiere, there were reports that Sony's Spider-Man universe was officially coming to a close, with Kraven the Hunter being the last entry in the scattered saga that never found its creative footing, at least for now.
You're a lunatic.
Oh, you just figured that out now?
Those reports have continued, even as Sony somewhat denies them. But how could it not be true? Where could this series possibly go from here if not directly into the trash, or at least a recycling bin to start over? The likely result of these reports, if they prove true, is that Kraven won't be remembered as a movie. Instead, it'll be the capstone for when Sony's universe of Marvel characters finally buckled in on itself and collapsed.